Cool. Cool. Beholder, Carlos Alvarez. How you doing today, man?
Not too bad yet, man. Not too bad. It's a
Cool,
nice
cool.
day out. I got myself a good root beer here talking to you.
Uh-huh.
I got no complaints.
Cool. Debut album. How long did it take the making of it? It just came out on the 25th,
Yeah, yeah, last Friday.
right?
Um, I guess from the moment I kind of wrote the first set of riffs uh, until Friday. I guess that would be about 3 years,
Wow.
roughly. Yeah, from the I mean, it's not like I was pulling from some sort of like a deep well of resources or something. It was just something I started writing to pass the time, to cure a little bit of boredom. I'd worked out like a whole bunch of I'd written like 2 albums worth of material for my previous band, and nothing was happening with any of that. A combination of just other people exploring different avenues, and then like COVID stuff. And so then I had those songs, and then I got bored. So I re-recorded the first album for my other band, Shadow Dance, and put that out. And then I still had nothing to do. So I started writing these songs because it seemed like it would be something fun to do. And isn't that the way it is, right? Like when you're enjoying it and having fun, all of a sudden
Yeah.
the songs just started flying out, man. Before I knew it, I had a couple months and I had a full album's worth of material. So I'm like, well, I guess I got to find some people to help me make this a reality. So, a
Definitely.
little bit of trial and error, but
Yeah, that's on Sound Pollution, right?
Mm, Black Lion Records, Sound Pollution is the main distributor.
Right, yeah. And how they treat you.
Fantastic. Couldn't ask for a better working partner than Black Lion. They've been incredibly enthusiastic about the album since the moment they listened to it.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's been an incredibly supportive team. The main person, Oliver, has been amazing. Just you know, and any stupid question or request, and he's on it, they're on it to try to make it happen,
Right.
and just doing everything within their scope to try to make this thing that was never intended to be a full thing into the best version of itself that it can be, which is great.
Right. You definitely have to have a good team behind you to really make any kind of impact, and a great PR person too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
'Cause they really bust their ass, pushing the artist and the album. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm a confirmed insomniac, and I'm pretty sure I sleep more than that dude does at Black Lion.
Now
So
the album also came out on a gatefold vinyl, right?
yes, yep.
Well, did you get a copy for yourself?
I still have not received a copy. I think they're operating under the fans before bands motto. So nobody in the band has a copy yet because we sold out the first pressing of the CD and the vinyl. I
Uh-huh.
think a few days before the actual release date,
Right.
and then they placed a like about a week before that, when they knew it was going to happen, they placed a follow-up order for more vinyl and more CD, and I believe that second pressing has actually already been snatched up by the distributor and by a couple of like sister labels in different territories and stuff like that. So we're looking at actually going into a third pressing, and the album has only officially been out for a few days.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Pretty
great.
wild.
Yeah. It's amazing how everybody wants vinyl now, huh?
you know, um, so speaking for myself, I'm not a vinyl person. I
Right.
never, I mean, I shouldn't say I never have been, but before CDs came out, I did have like a small collection of vinyl, but as it stands now, I've got one vinyl, and
Uh-huh.
I don't even have anything to play it on. I just keep it
Yeah,
as it's a memento for myself.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to get a copy of the vinyl just because, it's me. It's me,
Right, yeah.
my band, I'm on it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably like hang it up or something, but yeah, I'm definitely more of a CD person, but I get the appeal. especially when I'm not even speaking for our album, but just in general, especially when an album has really cool artwork.
Right.
It's always cool to see that on a bigger scale than a CD or a cassette where things
Right.
get all off. So.
The only thing I don't like about vinyl is I'm only taking, for instance, Ace Frehley of Kiss.
Mhm.
Okay. He put out 10 different colored vinyls. So now a collector's got to buy them all. Like,
Yep.
do you really need that? You got enough money.
Yeah, yeah, you almost got to it's almost like you got to try to play chess and like kind of look at what they did with a previous release and like no, I ain't buying that because I know they're coming out with marbled vinyl and
Yep.
2 months after the plain black one or something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was kind of a almost like a inside joke with Black Lion because they took a flyer on putting this out on vinyl, especially for a pretty non-established band. And then on top of that, because of the not that it's a long album, but it's just long enough that to try to squeeze it onto a single vinyl would really compromise the sound quality.
Right.
So they were like, well, all right, let's do it, man. We're doing double vinyl. We're doing that. We're doing 180 gram vinyl, 45 RPM. Let's get the best possible sound quality. And it looks amazing. The packaging is great, but it's still just standard black vinyl.
Right. Yeah.
I think each one of them has a different inner sleeve label or something like that. And then the joke was, I was like, hey, I saw that, that other release coming out in a couple months from that other band. That smoked marble vinyl looked pretty sexy.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, that would be if I was one of the people that pre-ordered the vinyl for us, I'd
Right.
be so pissed
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
like the second pressing all of a sudden had all these different sexy options. So I think we're gonna just stick with the plain black version for this release, and then if everything goes well, we'll have a little bit of room to push our weight around for the next album or something. Try to get some kind of
Cool.
cool marble variants.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too many, so people like you don't get mad.
Yeah. Well, I'm not mad. I just like I thought it was like a money grab thing, like we're gonna put out an orange one that got 200 units, and then we're gonna put out a purple one with 150 units, and then we're gonna put out a green one with 100 units, and like, it gets to be too much, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you guys are from Philly?
Well, I'm from the Philadelphia area, outside. I don't live in the city or anything. The rest of the guys are in different parts of the country. So we got two of the guys, Matt and Andrew, guitars and drums respectively, are in Minnesota
Uh,
and like Minneapolis area. And Michael, the bass player, is in Tucson, Arizona. And then Big John, the singer,
uh,
he's in Salt Lake City.
Cool, cool. Like I said, when I was telling you before that I was reading the press release and all of a sudden I see John's name, Judicator. I
Mm.
said I just did an interview with him like a month or two ago. Like I was surprised. He did a great job on this album.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Killer.
absolutely. Yeah. John is he's an incredibly talented individual. And
Right,
I think it's actually been kind of validating for me on a personal level because I think John wasn't necessarily convinced that his particular voice or his stylings would mesh with
right,
this type of music, but I knew it would. It just required a different approach. And then, at the start of it, he and I discussed what would be the better way for him to approach this so as to differentiate himself from
right,
Judicator. So people would hear it, and if you're a fan of John's work, you'd be like, I'm pretty sure that's John, but it
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
entirely sound like him,
No, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, and that was the goal. That was the goal. And it's great because he's been getting so much positive feedback about his work on this album that, like I said at the start, it's been validating for me because I kind of feel like saying, like, you see, I told you I was right. You gotta trust me, man. I heard something and I knew you'd be the right guy for it. So, and I think the confidence in that has grown in him since as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He did a great job.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Cool. Let's go down some of the tracks and give me your impression or whatever you want to talk about. We'll start off with A Pale Blood Sky.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that song.
All right. Well, that one, that one has a special little place in my heart because the main riff in the beginning of the song, where everything just drops off and it's just the guitar playing, that riff is actually the very first riff that I wrote for this album. It was
Uh-huh.
the first not connected to any other project or band or anything. It was just the first thing that came out when I said, "Oh, I'm going to start messing with some Doom stuff." And then to top that off, because back when I was in high school, I tried I tried a couple times to put like a doom metal style band together. Um, but the middle of that song where it goes into the like the galloped rhythm,
Right.
that was actually one of the very first riffs I ever wrote back when I
Mhm.
was in high school.
Wow.
So I found a way to bridge those two things together. And for me, that kind of like symbolically really set the stage for this project because it was like I just found a way to put together one of the oldest things I've ever written with one of the most brand new things I had written. And that to me gave everything kind of like it was like giving the marching orders,
Right. Yeah.
this is where we're rolling. So yeah, and then as far as like, thematically, uh, John and I are both big fans of like, like murder mysteries and
Mhm.
The Exorcist 3 in particular, like the movie and stuff.
Right.
And we wanted to have sort of like that kind of supernatural Lovecraftian
Mhm.
detective story going on, but set using the framework of like the world of Dungeons and Dragons to kind of encompass this particular story.
Right. Definitely cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. How about Dungeon Crawl?
That one's just a love letter to the game and to all the people that have enjoyed playing it for the last 50 years or so, myself included, even though it's been many, many years since I've had a chance to actually play legit. But yeah, it's that one's fun. It's very meta lyrically. It's told from several perspectives. So you got like the verses are done from the perspective of the dungeon master, talking to the people sitting at the table.
Right.
Uh, and then you got like these two kind of like it's almost like the dwarf song from like The Hobbit or whatever, these two sections. And
Right.
that's kind of like the player characters in character, you
Right.
know, like doing their thing. But then there's like a break in the middle of the song where it goes to the bridge and you kind of get this like, fly on the wall perspective of seeing the actual just regular people sitting in a basement and playing the game.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a little bit like you hit on all three perspectives and wrap it all up with some pretty meta lyrics as far as like some of the main kind of creatures you'd run into and stuff like that. So it's just pure fun.
So it's amazing that a game can last that long, huh?
It's unbelievable, but I mean, it really found a place in our society's culture and everything like that. And I think it also helped maybe that right around the same time there were a lot of rock bands that were singing about like Tolkien
Mhm.
and obviously like Robert Howard, um, Conan stuff and all that, the Frazetta paintings. So I think right around that time, that whole fantasy warrior thing started to really kind of pique people's interest with like the imagery and
Right.
stuff like that. So I guess maybe the game came out like at the right time because if it had come out 10 years before, maybe it would have just fizzled out.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. My daughter Sarah, who lives in Oklahoma, and they go into a park and do a whole kind of like skit,
Okay.
with swords and everything, and like
Yeah.
I,
Live action role playing.
yeah,
That's cool.
her husband and stuff like that, and they do like
That's
a
great.
whole big thing about it and stuff like that,
Yeah,
you know.
that's a whole like community, the LARPing community and stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, cool. Into the Underdark.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit
Yes.
about that song.
Okay, so that one is it's just basically the Underdark is this world underneath the world kind of thing, and not to go into too many specifics because you could go forever about that, but it's just this vast underground world, and it is not nice.
Uh,
It's we're all the worst of the worst inhabit, and we just again all of these songs are kind of they're stories. We're telling stories, and this one is just about a group of adventurers that are they're going to try their luck on one big last heist. And they got like this old map kind of saying like, hey, it's something really cool here. But without giving anything away for those who haven't heard it, it doesn't go quite the way they planned. So because that's the thing with these songs, this album, and just the general intention, because it is metal, there's not going to be a whole lot of happy endings in the stories that we try to tell.
Are they swords on your wall back there?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I got replicas of the Atlantean sword and the Father's sword from Conan the Barbarian. So I mean, as you can see, it's one of my favorite all-time movies, probably my favorite all-time movie. So I'm a huge Conan fan. I've got like stacks of graphic novels. I got all the everything that Howard wrote. So yeah, yeah. When I was old enough and I had you know disposable income, I grabbed a couple of those, and when I saw that the wife didn't leave me, I was like, okay, she's a keeper.
Cool, cool, cool. Next track, Eyes of the Deep.
Yeah. So that one is that's a continuation of the story that was started in Pale Blood Sky. And again, I don't want to give away too much lyrically, but it continues the story, but from a different person's perspective. And it's definitely I would say it's probably the darkest song on the album, both musically and thematically. And there's a moment where the antagonist finally or the protagonist finally meets up with the antagonist, and it was an important thing John and I were discussing at the time, where it was like, well, because of the nature of the lyrics and how this story is developing, it would be a really cool idea if we could get like a good guest vocalist, somebody with a completely different sounding voice than yours. Even though John can do multiple characters with his voice. I mean, he takes on a lot of different sounds with his voice, which is amazing. But we both agreed we needed somebody else, and John said something to the effect that, well, considering like the lyrics and where this is going, it has to be somebody scary sounding. They would have to be real scary sounding. Right. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, well, there's nobody scarier sounding than Tony from Amorphous. So, so I've been friends with those guys for a long time, toured with them like 20 years ago or something, and stayed friends. And so I reached out, and it worked to our advantage. We just had to wait a little bit while they were on tour and stuff. But when they got back, he banged it out for us, and we couldn't be more happy or thrilled with the results. It really brought that song home in a way that we weren't even anticipating. So, we're really thankful for him for doing it. And to the drummer for Amorphous, Jan, he actually took some of his time out to help Tommy record those vocals and stuff for us. So that was really cool of them.
How about For Those Who Fell?
So that's something John came up with on his own. Again, it's just a storyline that he wrote, and the world of Dungeons and Dragons is sort of just kind of like a framework to tell this story within. And he had the idea of this warrior wandering around a battlefield the day after a huge battle or something, and like seeing this one of the people that he had fought and killed, and he sees the person's holding on to something, and he checks it out, and it's like a letter from like his family or something, and it's like, wow, he's just like me, he's just on a different side, or whatever. And he had the idea to kind of, not so much he's not making a statement or anything, because that's not what this band is about, but it's I think it's a theme that can be applied to almost anything.
Right.
I think anybody could relate to it, given the nature of the topic, and just the idea of even enemies can have respect for each other, and be honorable and stuff like that. So yeah, that was all John. I actually had I had nothing to do with that one lyrically or in developing any of the vocal lines. I think the only thing I said for that song, I was like, hey, why don't you extend those verses and write some more words because they were really cool.
Next track, Draconian, which is my favorite track.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, that one's been getting a lot of love. I was actually initially I wasn't sure if it wouldn't fit just because the chorus takes on a slightly different flavor than some of
Right.
the other choruses. But the funny thing being too, that was actually the very first song that John and I collaborated on.
Mhm.
When I was approaching him and gauging his potential interest in doing this, I was like, well, let me send you a couple things. And he was like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll check it out. So that was the first thing I sent him because I had a feeling that I think the term doom metal might have thrown him off or made him unsure because
Right.
he's self-admittedly not entirely well versed in he couldn't name you four Candlemass songs or something
Right.
like that. You know what I mean? Like but he's familiar with the style. So
Right.
I sent him that because it has all the hallmarks, I think, of doom metal, but it also that the chorus lent itself to something I think that his ear would latch on to
Hmm.
and he'd be more familiar with. So I was kind of like easing him in. And right like within a day, I think he sent me back like some bullshit stuff like him just kind of humming along to it and had the verse melody
Right.
and yeah, so that was the first one that we collaborated on.
Cool. Cool. I like that song. How about Summoned Bound?
Okay, Summoned and Bound is just a cool little story. There are certain rules you have to follow if you are a young magic user trying to cut to the front of the line, so to speak.
Huh?
And so you're trying to summon something that is infinitely more powerful than you, and you better make sure you read the instruction manual properly because you make one boo boo and that's it. And
Yeah.
a boo boo was made.
Yeah. Wow. 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 Talking about cutting to the line, this is totally off the subject. My son's special needs, and I took him to the park, and he wanted to go down the slide, the
Mhm.
big slide, all the way, and like he's 6'8". Okay, so like he's a big boy. He's 28 years old. Okay, me, I'm 5'5", right?
Mhm.
So like he don't understand. You got to wait in line.
Right.
He pushed through everybody to get all the way to the top right away and went down. I'm saying, you're talking about front of the line. He just like, and I'm trying to tell the people, he's especially, he don't understand. He don't understand. And
Right, right, right.
there you go. Right to the line, right down the slide. You
Oh
know?
man. It must be nice to just be like a giant person just once.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he still goes to school. He goes to a special thing, and they call him the gentle giant.
Right.
Like so. He's a good kid. He's a
Yeah,
good
no,
kid.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, we had a guy like that at my job. His name was Jim Hightower, I think actually. And then the name was fitting too. And he was just the biggest guy, man. He was like 6 or 7'2" or something like that. He was just enormous. But he was like you could just see this guy could probably hold like a kitten,
Yeah,
with like no problem. You know what I mean? Like he was so
yeah.
gentle and stuff. Nicest guy. Yeah.
Cool,
That's
cool.
awesome, man.
Let's go to the last track. Magus.
Okay. Yeah. So that one is about a famous literary character from the Dragonlance novels, Raistlin Majir. And he's probably been one of my favorite characters for any genre of novels or anything like that, not just fantasy, because he's everything you want in a character. He's an
Uh,
anti-hero. He's evil as hell, but still has this weird redeeming good quality somewhere in him. He's like incredibly powerful, but while also being like this person that if you poked him in the chest, he'd fall over. It's
uh,
there's a lot of parallels between somebody like him and maybe like a character like Elric or something like that.
yeah.
And I've always been fascinated with him as a character because I think he's just one of the best developed characters I've ever read. So it was just a really cool opportunity, and the way the music was performing, it just felt right because that song has something forceful about it, but it has something mystical about it, and it has something dark and adventurous about it. It's just kind of all the qualities that I kind of associate with that character seem to really fit. And then that ending just kind of really sold, like the character's journey,
Right.
the hero's arc, so to speak, musically, and it tied together really well. So it was great to be able to finally have a song, to write a song about one of my favorite characters. So yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. Now the album only been out about a week, maybe not even a week. Have you read any reviews?
Oh yeah, we've been getting God, I've got a backlog of them, but we've been getting probably for the last couple months now at this point, four reviews a week, five reviews. I mean, we've got tons of reviews, and I'm still sitting on like about five or six that I haven't even posted to the pages yet. But just all in all, there have been no negative reviews.
Yeah, me too. I read this morning reviews. I didn't see anything negative at all
Mhm.
positives.
Yeah,
So congratulations on that.
thank you.
Um,
Thank you very
uh,
much.
I see you guys got a lot of merchandise on Bandcamp. So is everything available that people could buy and get in touch with you?
So as far as merchandise goes, we've got two different shirt designs. We've got the album cover as a shirt design, and then we've got another one that we recently commissioned from a really awesome artist whose style is very much in line with the old school Dungeons and Dragons books. So
Mhm.
it's that really cool, like black and white line work and stuff. So we've got that as a newer shirt design. Those are both available. The label is keeping some stock, I think, of both of them, but I don't know how much. So the Bandcamp site is the labels.
Right, right,
But that's just one of the storefronts. They also have just directly on their website, Black Lion Records. You
right.
can order stuff from them, but they have other affiliate like sites where they sell things. And but those two shirt designs are, I believe they're keeping some limited stock on the Bandcamp. But even if they weren't in stock, like if somebody wanted to order a certain size, and they didn't have it on Black Lion's site, you can order it direct from the printer because it's done through print on demand.
Right.
So people can just, and the link is right there. You just go right there and order it. I mean, I ordered a copy of the shirt myself just because I was curious. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
see what the quality was like and the feel, and the print shop is in Sweden, and I placed my order. The price was great. It shipped out within like a couple days. I had it within a week, and
That's good.
and the quality was fantastic. It feels great. So yeah, but that's as far as merch goes. That's all we really have that isn't a CD or vinyl or something like that. But I
Right, right.
think the stuff that's on the Bandcamp site, they're offering a lot of bundles, which is
Mhm.
why they wanted to print up some stock of the shirts as well.
Right, yeah. I noticed a lot of bands are doing bundles,
Mhm.
different kind of things. I think it's a good idea,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely a
save
good
a few
idea.
bucks by buying things in bulk. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it works out that way, I think, for everybody because you say the person buying stuff, it entices them to buy more than just one thing because they're ultimately saving money by buying a few things at once.
right, yeah. Cool, cool. Anything about any shows coming up? Because you said everybody's in a different location. Is this a studio band or is it a touring band?
No, it's not a touring band, so to speak. None of us is okay. I got to be careful with this. Um, we're not adverse. We're not averse to the idea of some type of touring, but it would be minimal.
Right,
And that was something that was pretty much agreed upon in the beginning anyway.
right.
Because either everybody's got other things that they're involved with, John with Judicator and stuff like that, and Michael's got his bands and stuff, and but also the fact that we're all a little bit older, and I got a wife and three cats. John's got another second kid on the way. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so anything that we do, because plane tickets are involved,
Uh-huh.
would have to really make sense for us to do.
Right.
It would just have to be something. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow for us to be entirely spontaneous. but anything that we would do, we would make it worthwhile, not just for
Right.
us,
Yeah.
but whoever would come out to see us. So there has already been some talk and some whispering of some potential festival offers
Uh,
coming our way. We're looking into that, but nothing like where we're going to go out on the road for 3 weeks or something and play a bunch of nightclubs and shit like that. So.
well. In Philly, is it the same in Philly as in Jersey? The tribute bands and cover bands are really taking over everything.
Well, I got to be careful with that too, because I was in one of the bigger tribute bands
Uh,
in Philly for like about 6 years. I was Disposable Heroes. I was in it's a vintage Metallica
wow,
tribute band. Yeah, we only ever played stuff from Justice and earlier. So
that's good. I like
yeah,
that stuff.
yep.
You know,
But then eventually that morphed uh, into like a tribute to golden age of metal and thrash,
right,
so we would do stuff from Megadeth, Anthrax, Pantera, Slayer, Iron Maiden, blah 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 blah. But we would wind up playing like 3 sets a night or something for 3 45-minute sets. So it was a slog, but we got paid great. But around the time that I was in that band, I did notice that there was an abundance of like tribute acts and stuff in Jersey area, and
right,
we played in Jersey a couple times too, and also around Philly and stuff. But um, I don't know if I'm not overly connected to the scene now as it is right now.
right.
Uh, like I don't, I don't go out to shows like every weekend kind of thing or something.
Uh,
Uh, I would say right now it's probably not as prevalent as it was. I think there's
right,
more original acts. They kind of pushed past that a little bit and established themselves, and with a greater degree of diversity too, because now it it would have blown my mind 15 years ago if you said there's a symphonic Nightwish style metal band from Philly.
right.
I'd be like, no, no, there's not. But now,
Uh-huh.
yeah, there is, or you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
there's a lot more diversity as far as the musical styles of metal and stuff in the area. I can't speak for Jersey too much, but
uh-huh.
around here, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love that era with Metallica and Megadeth and stuff. But I was the staff photographer for a metal magazine called Metal Forces Magazine,
Okay.
and they sent me all over. I mean, well, I went from Metallica to a band called Death
Oh yeah.
to Alice Cooper to Bat Benatar. Like,
Oh, okay.
like so like I was open to everything,
Yeah.
and what a time. What
I'll
a time,
listen to any one of those.
you know. Definitely a great time. Well, Carlos, it was great talking to you. Behölder, pick up the album in Temple of the Tyrant that just came out last week and enjoy the tunes. Watch the video. And would you like to say anything to the fans in conclusion?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity, and it's really cool chatting with you, man.
Well,
And I'm gonna get a handful of those picks out to you too. So,
thanks.
and as far as anybody listening, everybody who's been like just being just absolute legends with how awesome the response for this album has been. Just thank you to each and every one of you who's been sharing the videos, who's been leaving awesome comments, taking pictures of themselves holding the album. It's all incredibly appreciated, and yeah, it's just it's kind of firing us up to start working on album number two.
Cool, cool. Thanks a
Yep.
lot, Carlos.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Bye bye.
Cheers.